Happy Wednesday, everyone. The verdict is in. What the fuck, you guys? I had it so wrong, completely wrong. And we're going to dive in and talk about it. Welcome back to That's It. Okay, you guys, I'm going to try to put my feelings on the side and not get emotional about this whole verdict of Diddy. But I'm going to try to do my best because you know what? I've been invested in this whole case. I've been following from the beginning, and just to hear this verdict and the jury made their decisions, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'm not happy. I'm not pleased with this. I'm in full of rage. Okay, I'm in disbelief. And I can't believe this is happening. And I know a lot of people on Diddy's side and his family and his fans and the people that support him are very happy about the verdicts, not the verdict, the jury's decisions and everything. And some people are just really outraged and did not see this coming. And I'm going to be quite honest with you guys. I was not happy about this, and I did not see this coming at all. I'm going to say, I was completely blindsided. I really was. I thought that they were going to charge him of the RICO charge because that would have sentenced him to life in prison with no possibility of parole. I really thought they was going to do that, especially when they were undecided yesterday on whether or not if they was going to charge him or if it was going to be a hung trial. But then when the verdict came in, which I'm going to read to you, and it's up here too. So basically, count one of RICO, not guilty. Count two of sex trafficking and Cassie Couture, not guilty. Count three, Mann Act, transportation of Cassidy Couture, guilty. Count four, sex trafficking of Jane, not guilty. And count five, Mann Act, transportation of Jane, guilty. Now, obviously, with those two guilty charges, that is a possibility that he may serve 10 to 15 years in prison, or he might serve less than that. He might serve 10 or 2 years because he already served right now for 10 months. And that's going to be included of the sentencing once the judge decide how long he's going to be in prison for. But I'm just outraged that he's acquitted for the basically the top charges of sex trafficking and racketeering account. And I'm just in disbelief. I'm like, how did this happen? You know what I mean? It's like to me, it's like a slap in the victim's face. Our justice system is just horrible. Just there's no justice. It's just unjust. And for the fact that that the jurors did not believe Cassidy, I can understand Jane. You know what I mean? Because I feel like with Cassidy and Jane, even though their story is similar, but with Jane, she knew what she was getting herself into. She knew how Sean Diddy Combs. She knew she liked the lifestyle. You know what I mean? Not saying that she didn't. What happened to her was her fault or anything, but she knew what she was getting herself to with the freak offs and everything that was involved with Sean Diddy Combs, and she participated with some of it. She wanted the lifestyle. She wanted the glitz and glamour. You know what I mean? He was still paying her rent, still currently paying her rent while we were on trial. While this was on trial, he's still paying for his attorney fee. So that kind of lead the jurors like a little, we don't know if we believe her or not because he's still doing all these things for her. She participated in a lot of the freak offs and stuff like that. But with Cassidy, I don't understand with the text messages and him threatening her, like if she doesn't engage in the sex trafficking, that he's going to show the footage of her having sex with male escorts to her mother. Now, I know there was other text messages of Cassidy saying that she enjoyed the freak off, that she wanted to do it. But you got to keep in mind that she was in a relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. We didn't know what her mindset was. And again, and then the jurors also witnessed and saw text messages that Cassidy is the one who ordered the male escorts and paid them as well. And Diddy's instruction. He told her to do all these things. He told her to contact um, these male prostitutes, these male escorts, excuse me. And I guess the juries saw it completely different. They didn't see Cassidy as a victim. They saw her as a willing participant in the freak off. And basically, it's her word against his, and that's not what the juries saw. Even though evidence was presented to them, and the beating of the 2006 video of that Intercontinental Hotel, even though Diddy was not being charged for domestic violence, but it shows a picture how he is with women, how he abused and beat women and to control them as well, even though he was not being charged for that. But it brought a bigger picture to everyone. But I again, all the receipts, that's the thing I don't understand. All the receipts that were given to the jurors and to everyone to see that there was receipts backing the RICO charge, even though they're saying that it was not the enterprise, but the RICO charge, the sex trafficking. There's receipts, and I don't understand what the jurors were missing. You know what I mean? Like, what were they missing that they couldn't found Diddy guilty of sex trafficking when there's proof of it? You know what I mean? They only charge him of transportation of prostitution, even though prostitution is illegal. But my thing is, what about the sex trafficking? How come he was not charged for that? That's just mind-boggling to me. Now, you're probably asking me, what is the Mann Act? And I'm going to tell you what the Mann Act, because I didn't even know what this was until I looked it up. So the verdict is seen as significant victory of Combs. Two charges on which he was convicted involved violations of the Mann Act in transportation, and for two former girlfriends, Cassidy Victoria and Jane. Both testified in court that Combs physically abused and controlled them and had them participate in marathon drug-fueled sexual encounters with male escorts. Now, those sessions, due to freak-offs, often involve in travel across state and even international boundaries. So that's what a Mann Act is, and that's what he's being guilty of those two counts. Now, I just have to say, and I'm putting all my emotion behind this and just thinking rationally here, how is that not example, how is it for like victims that are being brutalized, being abused by their significant other, co-worker, or whatever, and then something happens to them? How is it safe for victims to go and report this while they're seeing this on national news and social media that this man is being not charged for majority of the big charges, if that makes sense? You know what I mean? How is it justice for victims who wants to come forward when they think that maybe I shouldn't come forward because they're not going to believe me? Look what happened to Diddy. Look what happened to Brian Kogenberg. Even though it's two different situations and two different cases, but Brian Kogenberg, they offer him a deal. He took it. So instead of him getting the lethal injection and the death sentence, he's going to serve life in prison. Sean Diddy Combs, he's been doing this for the last 20 years, and he just got off easy. And I'm like saying, what the fuck is happening in our justice system? Like, how is it that he can just get away with more crimes again, and hope and probably get lesser charge once he gets sentenced? And I just don't understand that. I just don't understand like how it's okay. And now that he got the verdict, I can't even imagine how his head is, Diddy. How his head is so big right now. Like, man, I just dodged a bullet again. I just dodged the big bullet in his head. He's saying, you know, the RICO, the sex trafficking. He dodged a bullet, and I'm like saying, damn, how this man can just get away with so much crime, and there's not going to be any repercussion of his action. There's not going to be any accountability. How is that possible? You know what I mean? 1999, the shooting in the club. The incident that happened in a college campus, I can't remember, with people were being torpedoed in a basketball court, and many people have died. You know what I mean? Among other things that happened that Sean Diddy Coleman has done allegedly, and he just got away scot free. I just don't understand that. I just don't understand how that is possible and how that he can just get away with it. And now he's thinking that, man, I'm God. Fuck, I am God. That's what he's thinking in his head because I got away with everything. I dodged a bullet, excuse me. And then he got down on his knees and started praying and stuff like that. I'm like, you should have been doing that a long time ago. And now you're grateful, now you're thankful that the jurors, your peers, excuse me, have said that you're not guilty on count one, count two, and count four, the three major charges that the jurors said not guilty. And I'm sorry, I feel like the jurors, excuse me, got it wrong. I feel like they didn't look at the evidence thoroughly, and that's just my opinion. And people might disagree with me on that one, and that's fine. But I feel like the jury's got it wrong. I feel like, you know what, if you didn't believe Cassidy and what she was saying, what about the other evidence? What about all the evidence and the receipts and then the proof that was given to them? You know what I'm saying? Like, take the domestic violence away, okay, but the other stuff that kind of like was coexisting with the RICO charge. If you don't think it was the enterprise, okay, but what about the other RICO charge and the sex trafficking that was combined in one, in my opinion, because I was following the case from the beginning myself and taking notes. So I just don't understand what the jurors saw completely different and how they didn't. Again, they made their decision. I disagree of the decision that they made. I feel like they got it wrong completely. I don't know if they were being rushed because maybe they knew that it was going to be a 4-day weekend and then they wanted to make a decision because they made a decision really quickly today, very quickly. And I don't know, they just wanted to rush and just make an unanimous decision and it just find this man guilty on two counts and then the rest not guilty, which is just very, very devastating and very distasteful in my part. And there's no justice. There's no justice. Our justice system is broken, in my opinion. It seemed like a lot of high-profile people, celebrities, can do a lot of harmful things to other people and get away with it, and be scot-free. And that's what Diddy's thinking. So shit, I got away with a lot of things. A lot of things. I'm not gonna be serving life in prison. And that's what he's thinking. And I think a lot of celebrities are thinking that too, that have done some crazy, outrageous crimes in their lifetime, and feel like, you know what, the justice is not fair because look what happened. He got away basically with murder, even though he didn't commit murder, but he got away with it. This is not like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's case. This is completely different. Was sex trafficking, RICO charges, transportation of prostitution. This was serious crimes. And I know it's completely different from Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and R. Kelly. People are comparing. R. Kelly, he was a pedophile. He had sex with underage kids, okay? That's why he's serving 25 years to life. That's different compared to Diddy. Diddy was doing sex trafficking and RICO charges and engaging in prostitution. It's completely different scenarios and completely different cases, even though people are comparing it to, but completely different. Diddy did not have sex with underage girls that we are aware of yet. Now, and like I said, I put my feelings aside of this, but I just want to say the prosecution, in my opinion, they made a mistake. They made a mistake, and you're asking me why you said that, Cheryl, because why, and I repeatedly said this in my videos, why they have not called Christina Kamora, D-Rock. These are the two main players in Diddy's orbit. These are the two main people that have witnessed and seen things in Diddy's life, that have been working close with him for many years. I cannot understand and fathom in the life of me that the prosecution did not subpoena those two to have them testify against Diddy. I don't understand why, and I feel like they dropped the ball. I'm being completely honest. They dropped the ball, and they were just so focused on the domestic violence, which I understand because they were trying to paint a picture. But my thing is, if you're going to go and charge someone for RICO, and that's a big thing, and among other things, you have to bring the big players involved in this, and they did not do that. The prosecution did not do that. They failed on that part, in my opinion. I feel like they didn't do their jobs, even though, yeah, I'm going to say they didn't do their job. I feel like they didn't subpoena those two. Victim number 3 was MIA. She was supposed to testify. Maya, she was supposed to testify. She was MIA. It just like things were just not, in my opinion, altogether. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, if they would have had proof that Sean Diddy Combs did something with a minor or have some type of evidence, I think the case would have been stronger. But I just feel like they lacked of certain things that did not present to the court, to the hearing. I feel like there was lacking of something, and then they were just so focused hard on certain areas that I feel like, in my opinion, they shouldn't have been focused on. They should have focused on the more broader picture of the case. That's just my opinion, you guys. Also, Sean Diddy Combs have no criminal history at all. He's been accused of stuff, but he has no criminal history. So that's kind of like a win on his part, because maybe the judge will grant bail, maybe not, and which I will talk to you more about. But I just want to say something to you, which one of my sources told me this, and I wrote this down, and this is super important, what I'm going to say. And then when my source told me this, I'm like, oh shit, this makes absolutely sense. And now I get it. Now, everyone is upset about the verdict and is stunned, including me. I was, like I said, I was enraged. I was pissed off, so mad that I could not even eat. I just wanted to fight someone because I didn't like the outcome of the verdict at all. Again, the jurors got it wrong, and I was not pleased by it. But my source told me the whole point of the Diddy trial and everything is because, remember, Sean Diddy Combs taped a lot of people during this freak off. They probably were drugged. They probably was not aware of the engaged activity they have done. Now, Sean Diddy Combs knew a lot of high important people. You know what I mean? Judges, politicians, famous rappers. You know it. They're probably on the tapes. Now, they're not going to identify the names on the tapes on the freak off because they want to keep it hush hush. It's the same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein recruited a lot of people, high profile people. Like I said, the royals, the politicians, the businessmen, white collar people been in those tapes. Again, we will never see those tapes a light of day. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be realistic. We're never going to see those tapes of the people that were involved in the Jeffrey Epstein's sex operation. That's going to be buried forever. Forever. That's just my opinion. Now, back to this. Now, what my source told me is that the whole point of the Diddy's trial is to gather the tapes. Because remember, when the FBI raided his house last year in Miami and LA, there was a lot of tapes, including baby oil, as you know, thousands of baby oil and glycosine, hopefully I'm saying it correctly, and tapes. Now, some of the tapes were presented during the hearing, some of it wasn't. But just bear with me here. It's a potential feeling that I had. These people who were involved in the freak off were on those tapes. Judges, politicians, like I said, high profile music rappers, whoever. They probably was on that tape. And I feel like with Cassidy, it was just, I'm not going to say a scapegoat. I think that they used Cassidy because of the lawsuit that she did back in 2023, the federal case, because she even said in her lawsuit that Diddy was running a sex operation. So when she stated that in her lawsuit, the government had a light bulb and said, And then I believe once that word got out, even though they didn't believe Cassidy, because everyone thought that she was crazy at the time, that she was sex trafficking and participating in freak-offs and everything, that Shauna Dicom was running a sex operation. I want to say enterprise, but operation. And I believe, and this is according to my source, that some of these people were on these tapes. So the FBI raided his two homes, took all the tapes, okay, which we will never see those tapes, those videos like a day. Okay, we will never know who's on those tapes because the FBI have them, and they're going to keep the people the people that's on those tapes hidden. We will never know. Okay, I feel like they have to have a reasonable, like Cassidy. I feel like they had to have a reasonable doubt that Diddy had done this heinous act. Basically, it was just her word against his. And that's why I feel like the jurors did not believe Cassidy. They didn't believe Jane because they felt like that they were participating in all this and then they were engaging in the freak off. And that's why you have to prove of what they're saying. And they didn't have any proof, and that's why there was a verdict. That's why they count one, count two, yeah, count one, count two, and count four not guilty because they feel like the jurors didn't feel like they had proof that what they were saying was actually true, what Diddy was doing, even though there was coercion, there was bribery, there was all that in factor, but I guess the jurors saw something completely different, and that was just not enough, which I feel like that's total utter bullshit, but hey, that's just my thoughts. Like the RICO charge, they found him not guilty. They found him not guilty. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, you guys. So even though, like I said, even though he may be serving 10 to 15 years in prison, it could be a lighter sentence, but then not the judge, but Diddy's defense team asked the judge, can he be released in bond? Since, they found him not guilty in the big charges and that he's found guilty on the lesser charges with the prostitution. So the judge said he has to think about it, and I'm going to read to you what the judge has said. He said he's going to think about his decision, and he will let everyone know the government and Diddy's defense 1 o'clock today. Now we've been waiting and waiting and waiting to see is Diddy going to be released to go home with his family and be on probation, and then he could just enjoy his 4th of July weekend. Well, you guys, that's not happening. So even though it was a huge victory on Diddy's defense team, it's a huge victory for me. I'm pleased. I'm happy that he is not getting out. His bail has been denied again for the 4th or 5th time, and I have to say I'm very pleased about that. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. So he will not be having 4th of July with his family. So this is what the judge has said, which let me read to you right here. Okay, hold on. Okay. Judge, I have read the parties of submissions and others. The jury convicted defendant of count 3 and count 5 of the following reasons bail is denied. Bail is denied. That's it. That's it. It's over. Now, this is what the judge said today. I have set a sentencing for Friday, October 3rd at 10 a.m. I am willing to expedite it, and Combs' attorney, Mark Orfidio, hopefully I'm saying it right, he said, yes, we would like it to expedite. And the judge said, we will need to expedite pre-sentencing report from probation, and I would be available at any time. So you hear it first, breaking news, bail has been denied. Diddy's not getting out, thank God, because I feel like with the judge, him seeing that video of him beating up Cassidy at that hotel in 2006, he felt like people are not safe. Diddy is a menace to society. Even though, let's say, the judge did grant bail, and Diddy goes to his Miami home, okay, and then he gets to travel to Miami, to New York, and to LA, those 3 states. It doesn't mean that Diddy is not going to be access to a phone, even though he's going to have a certain phone in his home. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean that he's going to be access to a phone. Doesn't mean that he can't reach one of his bodyguards or his friends to do his dirty bidding for him. That don't mean shit. This is Diddy here. He just got charged not guilty for 3 counts. Okay, so just think. If he did get released and it's already in his big head as it is that he got away basically with his crimes and he's only be charged a lesser crime, obviously it's a possibility that he's going to get back at those people who testify against him. People are not safe. People are not safe around him. So that's why I'm glad the judge kept him in jail until his sentence hearing in October 3rd. Because think about it. If he would have got out, believe me, the people that testified against Sean Diddy Combs, they would have been in his wrath. Point blank, period. You know it and I know it. And that is the darnest truth. Okay? So, and the judge was aware of this. The judge was aware that he is violent, obviously, that he will be capable of doing anything. Trust me, he think he's God. Now that the verdict is in, he think he's beyond God now because he think he got away with murder, pun intended. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that the judge made this decision that Diddy is going to stay in jail until his sentence here on October 3rd, and he is not coming out. Thank God. Thank God. So that's a little win, a little victory for me. Okay? And I know all of his family members not pleased, even though he told his family when he read his verdict that he's going to be home soon. And everyone was just clapping and laughing and doing push-ups outside the court. See, that's where arrogance get you. You get too arrogant, you get too cocky, and look what happened. Your ass is still in jail until October 3rd. See, you can't be arrogant, you can't be cocky. And that's the thing, he can't help himself. You know, you can't promise your family member that you may be released when you don't even know what's really going to happen. And sure enough, he is staying in jail. And I'm so grateful and thankful for that. A lot of people may not agree with me on that, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. And I'm pleased of that outcome. Again, I'm definitely not pleased of the other outcomes. And it, like I said, it just makes other people who've been doing these heinous crimes thinking that now they can get away with it because there's no, for me, in my opinion, there's no justice. There's no justice and these victims. There's none at all, you know, because you can just do all these heinous crimes and commit all this stuff to other people and you can just get away with it. So I just don't know what's going to happen with our laws. You know what I mean? Like women that wants to come forward, but they can't because they feel like they're not going to be believed. They're going to feel like they're being judged. They feel like, you know, no one's not going to believe me. Why should I subject myself to a court hearing and put myself out there and then relive, you know, the trauma when I'm already dealing with the trauma, like Cassidy, you know, and she had to relive everything. And for her to hear, oh, he's not being charged for certain things, to me, that's a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face. I don't know how Cassidy feels about that, but if it was me, to me, that would be a slap in the face. Like I put myself out there, almost 9 months pregnant, and everyone got to hear all my business, even though it was in the lawsuit, but still, I had to sit on the stand and relive everything, you know. And she was still suicidal. You know what I mean? Even though 9 months pregnant, she was still suicidal. She still wanted to take her life, and they didn't believe her. They didn't believe her. So how can other victims come forward and tell their truth when they know after hearing this and seeing what happened with Diddy's trial if they're going to be believed or not? And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Now, I'm not saying, listen, women lie, okay? Men lie too, okay? I get that 100%. But when you tell the truth and you speak your truth and it's like, is that enough? Is that enough? Or do you have to gather more evidence, like recordings, videos? Like they brought the receipts, but it seemed like that was not enough. That was not enough for the jurors. So what is enough to prove to juries if there's a trial that this person should be found guilty or not? What do they have to prove? What do they have to show? Because it seemed like your word against their word is not good enough. It seemed like text messages is not good enough because some people take text messages out of context, or there read one text messages that said, oh, this person wanted it and enjoy it, and the next saying the person didn't want it, they didn't want to do it. And they don't understand with violence and domestic violence, when people are being persuaded for you to do something when you don't want to do, it happens, you know what I mean? Especially when you're under the influence, or especially you love that person. It's like being in an abusive relationship. They leave and then they come back because that's all they know. That's all they know. And then for some of the victims that come back to their abuser, they should be punished for that. They should be outed for that. No, that's all they know because they've been manipulated and gaslighting and then thinking that no one else is going to love them, no one else is going to be with them. It's all about mind games. And I feel like that's what happened to Cassie. And then people are saying, obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion. People saying that Cassie's not the victim. She knew what she was doing. She knew what she was getting herself into. But you got to and I'm going to keep repeating this. You have to remember, Cassidy was young when she met Diddy. Jane was an adult. Different circumstance. Jane was an adult. She knew what she was getting herself into because Diddy told her. Cassie did not, because she never did drugs. Cassie never did drugs in her life. Diddy introduced her to drugs and to the freak off, okay? And she did it to please Diddy, okay? She didn't want to do this like as a career, as her job. She wanted to be a singer. That's what she signed up for. But that's not what happened to her at all. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Let me know what you think about this video. And if you do like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And again, this is just a huge win, I have to say, on Diddy's defense team, a loss on the prosecution. I know they're upset about it because they high success rate is 95%. And right now they're upset, rightfully so, because again, like I said, they dropped the ball. They really dropped the ball on this. They could have done more, and they should have done more. And now they can't recharge him. They can't, because once the jurors find him guilty of those 3 counts, that's it. It's a wrap. So right now they just have to work with the other 2 counts that they found him guilty on. They can't recharge him. It's a wrap. It's done. Again, I feel like, in my opinion, the prosecutor did a horrible job. They should have done better of presenting more witnesses, especially those 2 main players, Christina Kamora and D-Rock. They did not do that. Why? I do not know. We will never know. I would love to get the answer. And I would love for all those 12 jurors to do an interview, because I would love to understand what made them conclude their answer, their guilt, not guilt, their answer. What made them feel like that was not a RICO charge, that was not sex trafficking? I would love for one of them to do an interview. Obviously, they're going to get paid for it, but I would just love to hear their perspective, why they concluded that they found those 3 counts not guilty. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you so much for watching. That's it, you guys. I love you all, and take care, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.